All right, YouTubers, welcome back. We're in the shops, we're in the bays. We're back on the Dodge Durango, not the SRT. The SRT Hellcat Dodge Durango, or Dodge Durango Hellcat will be back for exhaust. We're waiting for it to come back from wheels and tires. It's over at Finish Line getting wheels and tires. And then Finish Line will send it back here for exhaust. So, we're back on the Dodge Durango, and this is the basket case. And I'm going to call it a basket case. Don't worry about it. 104,000 miles. Engine lights on, tire lights on, airbag lights on. I just went through some codes. The customer's request, and this happens all the time. You may see it in your bays. How do you approach it? Customer request is, my heat's not working. And we see this every day in my bays here. My heat's not working. We go out to the car, the engine lights on, the airbag lights on, traction control lights on, the blower knobs are missing, whatever the case may be. And this is the real world. You walk out to the car, it's got a flat tire. You do a walk around the car, it's got other issues. Above and beyond what you're here for, hey, my car has no heat. Some people are conscious. Some people are actually conscious and know that that's going on, and some people are not conscious behind the wheel and have no clue what's going on other than, is there even gas in the tank to make it to where I'm going? And yes, I've had people come in here who are driving around and run out of gas because they had no clue. How? I don't know. Run out of oil? I have no clue. This is just what we're dealing with today. The tire light means nothing. The engine light means nothing. All they know is the heat's not working. So for us, you know, we're taking pictures, we're taking videos, we're looking at it like, all right, this car has passed a visual inspection for no heat. We can't even test drive it. The tires are unsafe. Tires flat. We bring it in the shop. We do a visual inspection up and down, see if there's any coolant leaks, oil pumping out of the engine. Pull the dipstick, no oil on the stick. How I approach this, regardless of who it is, I don't care if it's a first-time customer or a customer that's been here 100 times. We have to get the agreement to move on to some type of diagnostic to go over this car. It's not safe for them to drive, and it's not safe for me to drive. So once we get past that, and if this vehicle didn't have all these conditions, just had no heat condition, there was no engine light on, if we could find it on a visual inspection, I don't really pester the customer for any more money. Hey, it's got a broken hose, or hey, your knob's broken on your climate control, or hey, your blower motor's not working. And depending on the system in the vehicle, do I want to charge or do I not want to charge? That's up to me. So we're just going to say, this case here, that we have so many problems. Do you have work for Jude?
Alpha 1 was approved, but I'm not getting a part for an hour.
Yes, Jude's got work. Find a different vendor and get the water pump someplace else. So for this particular vehicle, being that it had so many safety conditions, the customer didn't disclose any of this information at the counter to us, consciously or non-consciously. I don't really know how and why. It doesn't relate that this car had to be pulling, thumping and banging with, I think there's 10 pounds in this one. That one's completely bald, the right rear is bald, and all the tires are low on air. Had to be pulling and shaking, there's no doubt. Tires that are that low are shaking. So once we get the customer to commit to saying, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, there's no oil on the stick. Our visual inspection showing oil is not just dripping out of the bottom, it's leaking heavily, or pissing in my language. It's pissing oil out of the bottom of the car. It's a good thing that you're here, because any further this thing would be ready for the junkyard. Do you know the tire light's on? Do you know the left front tire has 10 pounds of air in it? The right front's completely bald, the rear one's bald. There's some other issues. Hey, we need to do a diagnostic on this thing and find out what's going on. Once we got the customer to agree to that point, then I start digging deeper into the car to find out, one, what it's going to take to fix the heat for the customer, and I have to diagnose the thermostat problem. And then once that's done, I need to diagnose the climate controller after we fix the thermostat to make sure the climate control is doing its thing. Are the doors in the dashboard doing its thing? Is the heater core plugged or not? We don't have any of these answers. We've got to get past the issues on the surface that are preventing us from getting to the end result, which is, can you fix the heat? And then two, I can't keep putting oil in this car, trying to diagnose it. I need to fix the oil leak to make the engine run, so I don't have to worry about it blowing up while I'm working on it. I had to put 3 quarts in it just to get started on some type of heat diagnostic. as it's pumping oil on the ground at the same time. So here, I just lay it all out. I know some customers come in and all I want is an oil change, or hey, while I'm here, please, and we hear this, it's not very often, hey, I'm here for an oil change, please look my car over and tell me if there's anything going on. Some people want that level of service. Not that they're willing to fix what's wrong or do it, but some people really want to know. And I welcome that. They should open their arms to somebody, and they may say, oh, I know, because they think they know it all. No, you probably don't know. Even though you know, you don't really know. Until you have a pro go through your car and say, hey, this is what's going on. And just because you think the guy on the street's a pro mechanic, he's not. You may not even have the guy in the shop who looks at your car at the dealership be the pro mechanic. He doesn't care if your cabin air filter's clogged, or the air filter's clogged, or you're leaking oil, or you got fluids dripping. Lube techs don't care. They're getting paid by the hour. It's the A techs and the B techs. The other guys are getting flat rate. They want that work. They don't even care if your lug nuts are swollen or your tires are bald. They don't care. You're gonna try and get some work, and other than that, next car, or just a lube tech. And that's what's going on in the base. Quick Lubes, lube tech. You go into a Pep Boys, you're not getting a master tech to typically change your oil. And if he happens to walk by the car, he may point something out, but he doesn't care about you. He cares about himself. He's worried about making his hours. Dealership's the same thing. You're there for an oil change, and A-Tech's not grabbing an oil change when there's 10 lube techs on. He's going to sit there and say, there's no work for me, I'm going to go home. Somebody find me some A-Tech work before I go home and start looking for another job where I can make my hours. For me, I try and get under every car and look at all the opportunities, good or bad, or possible or not possible. There's cars that come in here that absolutely need nothing. And they sure could use some maintenance, but not everybody's into maintenance. But you should welcome a full vehicle inspection, not at the wrong place, at the right place. If you go to a Quick Lube, you're not getting a true picture and snapshot condition of your vehicle. You're just not. Facts. You see them checking all this shit off. They're not checking anything. They're just stroke counting it and saying it's good. And did they get the cabin air filter? Did they get the air filter? Did they get the fuel injection service? They check the boxes for management to be off their ass, and then they're on their way. Wiper blades, all the easy shit. But in a real environment, customers should welcome a full vehicle inspection every time they come in. And some dealerships, I've seen the videos. Their technicians have a bay. They do a very good job. They do a complete entire video of the car and conditions. Seen it, great job. Meineke has pictures on tablets. It's not as good as video, but it is pictures. It's a form of communication. Some dealerships are using pictures. I've seen it. I like to do both. Pictures from my cell phone and a video on YouTube, and I'll tell the customer, hey, you can go to my YouTube video. We're going to send you the estimate or email. If you have any questions on the conditions, here's the link. You can watch the whole video of your car, and hopefully that I'm in a good mood that day. And it is what it is. But I like video, and if the customer doesn't care, I did my job. It makes me feel good that I'm doing my job. And some customers come in and say, all I want is an oil change, and their car is a complete basket case from front to end. And then I draw a line in the sand, all right? If they're just here for an oil change like this car, and it's pumping oil out of it, and they don't want to hear it, just change the oil, it goes out the door. There'll be another customer who's going to come in for an oil change. There's going to be another customer who's going to come in for an oil change with fluids pissing out of it and doesn't want to hear it. That's just part of what I'm dealing with here in Cinnaminson, but I'm sure there's other technicians around the world dealing with it too on a different scale. Some higher, some lower, some never. I know for a fact that the guy that brought the Hellcat in here, if his car was dripping anything, he would absolutely want it fixed. Does not want anything leaking out of any of his vehicles. That's a fact. I can't say that for most people. So how I approach this job is like I always do. We have to get past the customer being willing to pay for us to finish up diagnosing the car and looking a little further for the small amount that we charge, and then present all the problems above and beyond why they're here. Nothing worse than you fixing something for a customer and then they leave here and they say, well, why is my rear suspension clunking and banging? And you're like, well, I just changed your oil. You declined tires, you declined rotate and balance, you declined all this work. But yeah, but there's a noise in the back of my car. Okay, well, we just changed your oil. And now, you know, they're kind of blaming you for it, and then you didn't really do your job, right? Because how many people road test oil changes? We don't. It comes from the parking lot to the bay, and it's not uncommon for people's cars to be making tons of noise. I, for one, would try and look into that. And then you would have the customer come back, and I watched this on another mechanic's YouTube video. He's like, hey, dude, I just changed your oil. We brought it in and out. And then the customer comes back. He grabs the left rear wheel lug nuts, and he's turning them by hand. He goes, who's the last one that had your tires off? And he's like, You say, yeah, dude, they left the wheels loose. Had nothing to do with anything. I don't want anything but an oil change, right? And then any recommendations that he made, you didn't want. So you came in with a noise, you left with a noise. And then now you have a noise and you're trying to point the finger at the car. That's why it's good to do a thorough inspection all the time. So we present all the problems to the customer and we give them choices. Here's your option. You know, you need the heat fixed, you got to fix the oil leak. We can't. It doesn't make sense for you to drive around pumping oil out of your car whatsoever, unless you're prepared to buy a new engine, which a used engine is ridiculous for a Chrysler 3.6 or for any car nowadays. So fix the oil leak, fix the heat problems, put at least 3 tires on the car. The other stuff, which was the airbag, the brakes were low on the front, an axle shaft leaking, all that stuff is on the back burner because it's not really legit safety issues yet, but still 3 more problems that the car has today that may not be resolved, and then 3 more problems, or 5 more problems may wind up happening in the near future. And some customers will say, well, every time I come in, you find things wrong with my car. That is our job. If you didn't fix 3 or 10 things the last time you were here, and then it's a year later and you didn't do the 10 things that we told you before,
you're gonna have 20 things.
You're gonna have 20 things that need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Not including a 100K service or a 150K service. Not including the tires are now on the wear bars. So the snowball effect.
Staying on top of your vehicle.
Stay on top of your
a
car.
lot less painful.
It's a lot less painful. If the tires were fixed last year on this car, and she was just here for an oil leak,
$1,000 less.
would have been $1,000 less today. Last year, if the tires were fixed. If the oil leak was fixed 2 years ago, because they start to leak first before they piss,
That would have been another $1,200
another
less.
$1,000 off the bill. It would just be, can you fix my check engine light today and tell me what the airbag is? So you follow the rationality is?
Yep, and it would have been
A few $100.
Yeah, a couple $100.
Purge valve, thermostat, coolant bleed and fill, check the filters, look over the car. Been a few $100, but since they let it pile up and let it pile
they
up.
would have been able to get their front brakes done too, because the front brakes aren't necessary at this point, but they're getting there.
We're getting there, and it's something we're keeping an eye on. So the point is, like, how do you handle these cars here? And I said we handle it the same way we always do.
We advise everything we see, and we
Above and beyond what they say at the at the greeting.
Oh yeah,
Like, I'm
every
just
single
here
thing we
for.
see, anything we see, we advise, because we don't want them to be able to say, well, ever since.
But I had customers say, well, why didn't you? So this is me, younger you. This is me, younger you. 40 years ago. Learning how the system. I've had customers say, why didn't you tell me this, Anthony, when I was here, that my shock was leaking in my rear? I would have just done it. You follow me? And I said, well, you weren't here for that, and I didn't think about it. That was me. But there are people out there who want to know, who want to fix their cars. And that's why I say, hey, this is everything I see, like it or not. It is what it is. If you want to fix it, don't do. But you know, you have to present the conditions. And I said, there's times that people come in here. That's a 180,000 mile F-150. What did I find wrong? A leaking water pump. Noise from the front brakes because they're cross-drilled and slotted. That's it. 190,000 miles. 190,000 miles.
Somebody
All I
really
could
cared
find.
about that truck.
All I could find was a leaking water pump, not pissing water pump, leaking, and the brakes are noisy because they have cross-drilled and slotted pads and rotors in the front, which are noisy, and a little tire noise.
But I mean, those are all-terrain, so that's you're gonna get that.
$190K, not including the maintenance stuff, right? We exclude maintenance on this vehicle too. We didn't even get to air filter, cabin filter, diff service, trans service,
I mean, some of the maintenance. I mean,
all that.
tires maintenance, brakes maintenance, stuff like that.
All that stuff for this vehicle, I had to set to the side even in my presentation because the car is so far mechanically neglected that I wasn't even approaching maintenance items, even though maintenance is important. This car didn't make 190,000 miles not being repaired and maintained. All I could find was a seeping water pump, leaking water pump, not pissing, and a little bit of brake noise.
I
That's-
promise you, as a former Ford technician, this, somebody cared about this.
Somebody loved this
Somebody
truck.
really cared about this, and somebody kept up.
Not only did they wash it, but they loved the interior, they loved the truck, they took it in and had maintenance done, and that's why you have such a beautiful F-150 with near 190K, not rusted out, not leaking oil, nothing, seepage for oil, not leaking. But the same process. It's a little bit more in depth for a used car dealer inspection than it is for a retail inspection. I didn't go through seatbelt function, window function, all that stuff. You know, I kind of skipped and prioritized my approach to this job because there were so many mechanical failures. Thanks for watching. If you're looking for a good quality mechanic, you want to know what's wrong with your car, you want to have a vehicle like this that's going to last you 190, 200, 300,000 miles with repairs and maintenance, you got the right place here at Cinnaminson. If you want a mechanic that maintains cars like this and doesn't tell you anything, and then when you wind up at a good mechanic shop with all these problems, you have to look at yourself and the mechanic you've been getting repairs at or the quick lube you've been hitting.
You're starting to step around the corner if you look like this.
Yeah. So, plenty of great technicians out here, not just myself. Thanks for watching.